Students, welcome once again to the online class of Southern School. This is an initiative taken by Southern School affiliated to CISCE, New Delhi. Today, my dear students, I am going to take a class of The Merchant of Venice, second part of Act 4, Scene 1. I will read the text as well as explain the text. So let's begin. In our previous class, we have discussed how the Duke, Bassanio, Graciano make an earnest appeal to the cruel moneylender Shylock to show mercy on Antonio. We have also discussed Shylock's cruel nature, his hatred feelings towards Antonio. Despite several prayers, he did not pay any attention. He did not move from his decision an inch. In this class, we will discuss about Portia's role as a lawyer, how she makes appeal to Shylock. So let's start. In our previous class, I told you, my dear students, that the Duke is ready to hear the letter from Bellario. So here's the letter. The clerk is going to read. Clerk: Your Grace shall understand that at the receipt of your letter I am very sick, but in the instant that your messenger came in loving visitation was with me a young doctor of Rome. His name is Balthazar. My dear students, must underline in your text the name of the young doctor of law is Balthazar. I acquainted him with the cause in controversy between the Jew and Antonio the merchant. We turned over many books together. He is furnished with my opinion, which, bettered with his own learning, the greatness whereof I cannot enough comment, comes with him at my importunity. Importunity means earnest request to fill up your gracious request in my stead. I beseech you, let his lack of years be no impediment. Impediment means hindrance. Importunity means earnest request. Impediment means hindrance. To let him lack a reverend estimation. To let him lack a reverend estimation means make you not esteem him highly. For I never knew so young a body with so old a head. I leave him to your gracious acceptance, whose trial shall better publish his commendation. To this letter, Bellario requests the Duke that he wishes the Duke's grace to understand that he was very sick at the time of receiving his letter. But at that moment, Duke's messenger arrived, and there happened to be with Bellario in friendly consultation a young doctor of Rome named Balthazar. Bellario told him of the nature of the case and the quarrel between the Jew and Antonio, the merchant. They both consulted many legal books together, and the lawyer is acquainted with his views, means Bellario's views on the case. This is strengthened by his own learning, the extent of which Bellario cannot praise too highly, and so it all comes with the lawyer at Bellario's request to carry out the Duke's commission instead of Bellario. Bellario asks that the lawyer's youthfulness should not be considered a reason for keeping back the Duke's highest esteem for him, for Bellario has never known so young a man with such sober judgment. Bellario leaves the lawyer in the hope that the Duke will receive him graciously, and if the Duke give him a trial, this will show up his praise even better. So this is the letter from Bellario. Bellario requests the Duke to give permission. The lawyer that Bellario is sending to him, as Bellario is not well, he is sending a lawyer named Balthazar, who is, as far as Bellario is concerned, is witty, full of practical wisdom. There will be no difficulty for him, as far as Bellario is concerned, to fight for right judgment. That is the hope of Bellario. So he earnestly requests the Duke to give him the permission for the trial. Hearing Bellario's letter, Duke says, "You hear the learned Bellario, what he writes? And here I take it as the doctor come." Here doctor refers to the doctor of law, that is none other than Portia. Enter Portia dressed like a doctor of law. Duke asks Portia, "Give me your hand, coming from old Bellario." Duke asks Portia if she was coming from Bellario. Portia, "I did, my lord." Duke, "You are welcome. Take your place. Are you acquainted with the difference that holds this present question in the court?" That means Duke again asks Portia, "You are welcome, take your place. Are you acquainted with the nature of the dispute involved in the present case before the court?" Means, do you have any idea about the present case? Portia, "I am informed thoroughly of the cause, which is the merchant here and which is the Jew." Portia replies that she is thoroughly informed about the case. She asks the Duke about the merchant and about the Jew. Duke, "Antonio and old Shylock both stand forth." Duke says, Antonio and Shylock both step forward. Duke asks both Antonio and Shylock to step forward. Portia now asks Shylock, "Is your name Shylock?" Shylock, "Shylock is my name." Portia, "Of a strange nature is the suit you follow, yet in such rule that the Venetian law cannot impugn you as you do proceed." Impugn means find fault with. Find fault with. IMPUGN. Impugn means find fault with. So Portia tells Shylock, "The suit which you have brought here is strange in nature." The demand of Shylock, according to Portia, is strange, and yet is such that the law of Venice cannot take steps against you for the course you follow. But law can't do anything. Now she asks Antonio, "You stand within his danger, do you not?" "You, Antonio, are liable to his penalties, are you not?" He replies, "Hey, so he says." That means, yes, he is liable to Shylock's penalties. Portia again, do you confess the bond? Portia asks Antonio, do you admit that you have made the agreement with Shylock? Antonio again replies, I do. Then Portia appeals Shylock to show mercy on Antonio. Portia, then must the Jew be merciful? Shylock, on what compulsion must I? Tell me that. Is there any compulsion? What is there to compel me? Tell me that. Students, this speech of Portia is going to be very important for you. Portia, the quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath. It is twice blessed. It blesseth him that gives and him that takes. It is mightiest in the mightiest. It becomes the throned monarch better than his crown. His scepter shows the force of temporal power. Scepter means a rod which a king holds in his hand, symbolizing his royal power. So what is the meaning of scepter? Scepter means a rod which a king holds in his hand, symbolizing his royal power. So scepter is the symbol of royal power. A rod which symbolizes the royal power of a king. Force of temporal power, the attribute to awe and majesty, wherein doth sit the dread and fear of kings. But mercy is above this sceptered sway. Mercy is above this sceptered sway. That means mercy is far above this world ruled by men with scepters, that is kings. Mercy is far above this world ruled by men with scepters. Men with scepters means the kings. It is enthroned in the hearts of kings. It is an attribute to God himself. An earthly power doth then so likest gods. When mercy seasons justice, therefore Jew, though justice be thy plea, considers this, that in the course of justice none of us should see salvation. We do pray for mercy, and that same prayer doth teach us all to render the deeds of mercy. I have spoke thus much to mitigate the justice of thy plea, which, if thou follow this strict court of Venice, must needs give sentence against the merchant there. So this is the speech of Portia. This is going to be very, very vital for you, my dear students. Portia wants to say that mercy is a blessing. Mercy, according to Portia, is a blessing which cannot be compelled. No one can compel anyone to show mercy. It must come as freely as the gentle rain from heaven which falls upon the earth beneath. It is doubly blessed. Doubly means twice blessed. It blesses the person who shows mercy and also him who receives it. So this is how Portia says that mercy is doubly blessed, twice blessed. Mercy is doubly blessed. It blesses the person who shows mercy and also him who receives it. It is the greatest quality even in the most powerful man. It is a nobler quality in a royal king than the crown which he wears. His scepter is the emblem of his worldly power, reminding men of the respect due to law and majesty. But mercy is something far above this earthly power. According to Portia, mercy is far above the earthly power of a king. What I have told, my dear students, scepter means a rod which symbolizes the royal power of a king. Mercy is above the scepter. Mercy is above the earthly power of a king. Mercy is something far above this earthly power. It is noble quality. Yes. As Portia has already mentioned, that it is twice blessed. The person who shows mercy, the person who receives it. It is a noble quality coming from the very heart of a king. It is a tribute to Almighty God, and the power is most divine in its working when justice is mingled with mercy. If justice is mingled with mercy, it becomes a divine power. So Jehu Portia appeals to Shylock. Although you demand this in the name of justice, remember that if we were all judged with strict justice by God, none of us would be saved. That in the course of justice, none of us should see salvation. That means if we are in trial in God's court, none of us would attain salvation. None of us would be saved. So we all pray to God for mercy, and that same prayer which we make should teach us to show mercy to others. I have spoken all this in order to soften the severe justness of your claim. For if you continue to follow it, this strict court of justice will be compelled to pass sentence against the merchant there. So through this speech, Portia explains clearly that mercy is a noble quality. It is twice blessed. The person who shows it, the person who receives it. So through this speech, she appeals Shylock to show mercy on Antonio so that the merchant could be saved. Hearing Portia's speech patiently, Shylock replies, "My deeds upon my head, I crave the law, the penalty and forfeit of my bond." Shylock replies that he takes the responsibility of his own deeds. He asks for the penalty allowed by the law, which has become due owing to the breach of their agreement. This is what Shylock replies to Portia. Now Portia asks, is he not able to discharge the money? Is Antonio not able to pay the money? Bassanio, yes, here I tender it for him in the court. Yeah, twice the sum. If that will not suffice, I will be bound to pay it 10 times over, on forfeit of my hands, my head, my heart. If this will not suffice, it must appear that malice bears down truth. And I beseech you, rest once the law to your authority, to do a great right, do a little wrong, and curb this cruel devil of his will. Curb means restrain, control. Rest once means moderate in this one occasion. Now Bassanio replies Portia that yes, here in the court, he himself offers it on Antonio's behalf, on behalf of Antonio. He offers to pay twice the sum, that is 6,000 ducats, and if that is not sufficient, he will undertake to pay 10 times the amount. If he fails to do so, may he forfeits his hands and his heart. If this offer is not accepted, then it is evident that a spirit of malice has conquered justice. So Bassanio earnestly asks Portia to use his authority on this one occasion to divert the course of the law, to do a great act of kindness, commit this trifling irregularity, and rob this cruel devil of his desired vengeance. So Bassanio requests Portia through his speech to save his dear friend Antonio from the clutches of cruel Shylock. He earnestly appeals Portia to give a good lesson to this cruel moneylender Shylock. He also admits that previously he offered Shylock to pay 6,000 ducats. He did not agree. So now it's time for the lawyer to give him a good lesson and save his dear friend Antonio from the clutches of Shylock. He refuses Bassanio's request and, like a witty lawyer, says, "It must not be. There is no power in Venice can alter a decree established. It will be recorded for a precedent, and many an error by the same example will rush into the state." Portia says that it must not be. There is no power in Venice which can alter the working of a fixed law. There is no power which can change the law. If it is, then it will be an example, and in future many errors might come into the affairs of the state. So it can't be possible to change the decree which is already established. Now Shylock, after hearing the speech of Portia, becomes very happy, and he refers Portia as Daniel. A Daniel come to judgment. Yeah, a Daniel, O wise young judge, how I do honor thee. Who is Daniel, my dear students? Daniel was a great Jewish character in the Bible who was known for his wisdom and judgment. So Daniel was a great Jewish character who was famous for wisdom and judgment. Here, after hearing Portia's speech, Shylock is so happy that he considers Portia, the disguised lawyer, a Daniel. He says, this judge, means Portia, that disguised lawyer, is a wise Daniel, come back again. According to Shylock, Portia is the second Daniel. I have already told my dear students, Daniel was a great Jewish character in the Bible who was famous for his wisdom and judgment. So Shylock, after hearing Portia's speech, considers Portia, the disguised lawyer, a wise Daniel, the second Daniel. O wise young judge, how much I honor you. Portia wants to see the bond signed between Shylock and Antonio. Portia, I pray you, let me look upon the bond. She asks Shylock to show her the bond. Here Portia, remember my dear students, a disguised lawyer. She is here Balthazar, a male character. Shylock, here it is, most reverend doctor, here it is. Shylock is pleased with Portia. He refers Portia, sometimes he refers Portia Daniel. Next, reverend doctor. So this proves how happy he is with Portia. Portia, Shylock, that's thrice thy money offered thee. Portia replies, tell Shylock. Shylock, a sum equal to 3 times, the amount of the debt is offered you. Shylock, an oath, I have an oath in heaven. Shall I lay perjury upon my soul? No, not for Venice. Perjury means sin of oath breaking. If anyone breaks an oath, that is called perjury, sin of breaking an oath. So Shylock says, an oath, I have an oath in heaven. Shall I lay perjury upon my soul? No, not for Venice. Shylock says, why? I have sworn an oath in the name of God to have nothing but my bond, to have nothing but my bond. I will accept only my bond and nothing. Shall I commit perjury, Reverend Doctor, by breaking my oath? No, not for the whole city of Venice. I can't break my oath, Reverend Doctor. I have taken an oath that if I have to accept, I only accept my bond and nothing else. so I can't break my oath. It will be a perjury. Perjury means, my dear students, sin of breaking oath. Sin of sin, sin of breaking oath. Now Portia, why this bond is forfeit, and lawfully by this the Jew may claim a pound of flesh to be by him cut off nearest the merchant's heart. Be merciful, take thrice the money, bid me tear the bond. Portia reads the bond. The lawyer, disguised lawyer, Portia or Balthazar, understands that the penalty mentioned in the bond has been forfeited, and the Jew can legally claim a pound of flesh to be cut off from the side nearest the merchant's heart. Portia appeals to Shylock to be merciful, accept 3 times the sums, and let Portia tear up the agreement. Like others, Portia requests Shylock to show mercy on Antonio, requests Shylock not to cut 1 pound of flesh. Portia requests Shylock to take 3 times of the sum and let Portia tear up the agreement. Shylock, when it is paid according to the tenor means spirit and words of the bond. Tenor, tenor means spirit and words of the bond. It doth appear you are a worthy judge. You know the law, your exposition hath been most sound. I charge you by the law, whereof you are a well-deserving pillar. Proceed to judgment. By my soul, I swear there is no power in the tongue of man to alter me. I stay here on my bond. Shylock replies, when it is paid according to the terms of the bond, indeed you appear to be a very worthy judge, knowing the law and interpreting it very soundly. I direct you in the name of the law of which you are so worthy a member, proceed to have judgment done. I swear by my very soul that nothing that man can speak will change my purpose. I insist on keeping strictly to the terms of the agreement. Porcia's appeal also can't move Shylock from his decision. He confidently replies Portia that he insists on keeping strictly to the terms of the agreement. Now Antonio wants to stop the argument here. He wants the judgment. Antonio says, most heartily I do beseech the court to give the judgment. With all my heart, Antonio says, I ask the court to deliver judgment. Now Portia says, why then? Thus it is, you must prepare your bosom for his knife. Portia replies Antonio, well, if you want the judgment, prepare. You must prepare to have your bosom cut by the knife of Shylock. Shylock, hearing the speech of Portia, O noble judge, O excellent young man. Whenever Portia speaks in favor of Shylock, Shylock considers him either noble judge or Daniel or excellent judge, etc. Portia, for the intent and purpose of the law, hath full relation to the penalty which here appeareth due upon the bond. Portia says, for indeed the meaning and scope of the particular law covers such a penalty as is incurred by this agreement. Shylock, it is very true, O wise and upright judge, how much more elder art thou than thy looks. According to Shylock, the lawyer's wisdom is greater than one would expect from his youth. Portia, therefore lay bare your bosom. Portia, therefore Antonio, ready to die, uncover your bosom Shylock. Aye, his breast, so says the bond, doth it not, noble judge? Nearest his heart, those are the very words. Shylock. Yes, yes, it must be his breast. That is, hath the bond, says. Does it not, noble judge? Nearest his heart are the exact words. Shylock tells Portia, I will cut 1 pound of flesh from the nearest part of his heart. These are the words written in the bond. Portia now says to Shylock, it is so. Are there balance here to weigh the flesh? It is so. Means, yes, it is written in the bond. Is there a weighing machine here to weigh the flesh? Shylock. I have them ready. Portia, have by some surgeon, Shylock, on your charge to stop his wounds, lest he do bleed to death. Portia, like a learned lawyer, orders Shylock to arrange a doctor at his own expense to stop the flow of blood from Antonio's wounds, lest he bleed to death. Shylock, is it so nominated in the bond? Shylock asks Portia, is it laid down in the bond that I must do so? Portia, it is not so expressed, but what of that? It were good you do so much for charity. Portia replies, no, it is not nominated. So what? Do some charity. There is no problem. Shylock, I cannot find it. It is not in the bond. No, it is not written in the bond. Portia, you merchant, have you anything to say? Portia asks Antonio, do you want to say anything before going to die? Antonio, but little. I am armed and well prepared. Give me your hand, Bassanio. Fare you well. Grieve not that I am fallen to this for you, for herein fortune shows herself more kind than is her custom. It is still her use to let the wretched man outlive his wealth, to view with hollow eye and wrinkled brow an age of poverty from which lingering penance of such misery doth she cut me off. Commend me to your honorable wife. Tell her the process of Antonio's end. Say how I loved you. Speak me fair in death. And when the tale is told, bid her be judge whether Bassanio had not once a love. Repent but you that you shall lose your friend, and he repents not that he pays your debt. For if the Jew do cut but deep enough, I will pay it instantly with all my heart. When Portia asks Antonio to say something, Antonio says that he is spiritually strong, mentally strong. He is prepared for his fate. He requests his dear friend Bassanio to give him his hand, and also asks him not to grieve, not to think himself responsible for his death. He thanks fortune for treating him more kindly than she usually does to men. Antonio also asks Bassanio to convey his respect to his honorable wife, that is Portia, and requests Bassanio to tell her how much he loved him. he also says, if the Jew only cut deep enough, it will be quite true to say that he has paid it with all his heart. So through this speech, it is clearly visible that Antonio is very sad. A noble character we find through Antonio from this speech. A noble friend who is going to sacrifice his life for his dear friend Bassanio, and also requests Bassanio not to grieve, not to think himself responsible for his death. A selfless, a noble character coming out from this speech of Antonio. Now, hearing Antonio's speech, patiently Bassanio says, Antonio, I am married to a wife which is as dear to me as life itself. But life itself, my wife, all the world are not with me esteemed above thy life. I would lose all, I sacrifice them all here to this devil to deliver you. Here in this speech, Bassanio wants to say that he loves his wife very much, but his life, his wife, all the things in the world, he can sacrifice to save Antonio from the clutches of Shylock. This proves that Bassanio, like Antonio, is a noble friend, a selfless friend. He can sacrifice everything in order to save his dear friend Antonio from the clutches, from the hands of cruel moneylender Shylock. This is the friendship. They are the two parts of a same coin, Antonio and Bassanio. They are the two parts, my dear students, of a same coin. Now, my dear students, you know that Portia, in a disguised lawyer, presents there in the court. Now, Portia, who is a disguised lawyer, Balthazar, now says, your wife would give you little thanks for that if she were by to hear you make the offer. Portia humorously says to Bassanio, I do not think your wife would thank you for making that offer. Previously, Bassanio says that he can sacrifice everything in order to save his dear friend Antonio. He can sacrifice his wife, his life, everything in the world in order to save his dear friend Antonio. Hearing this, Portia, the disguised lawyer, speaks humorously that she does not think that Bassanio's wife would thank him for making such offer if Bassanio's wife were present to hear such words. This is really very humorous. Now Graciano comes into the scene. I have a wife who I protest I love. I would see where in heaven so she could entreat some power to change this cursed Jew. So, like Bassanio, Graciano also says that I too have a wife. And my dear students, you know all that his wife also presents there in the court in the disguised form. And I too have a wife whom I swear I love. Now I wish that she were dead and in heaven in order that she might persuade some divine power to change this vile Jew to heaven. You understand? You understand the meaning of heaven? That means he, in order to save Antonio, unknowingly, Graciano says that I wish that she were, means his wife were dead and in heaven, then she might persuade some divine power to save Antonio from this Jew, Shylock. This is also very humorous. Now Nerissa, who presents there in disguised form, replies to Graciano, "It is well you offered it behind her back, that we should make else an unquiet house." Through this speech, Nerissa wants to say that Graciano makes such offer behind her back when she is not present here. Though we the readers know that Graciano's wife, who is none but Nerissa, presents there in disguised form. Otherwise, the wish might lead to tension in Graciano's household, lead to quarrels in Graciano's household. Now Shylock, "This with the Christian husbands, I have a daughter, would any of the stock of Barabbas." Barabbas, who is a Barabbas? A notorious criminal. Pilate, the king of the Jews, asked the Jewish mob whom he should set free, Jesus Christ or Barabbas. The mob said that Barabbas should be set free and Christ be crucified. So this Barabbas is a notorious criminal that Shylock refers here in this speech. Would any of the stock of Barabbas had been her husband rather than a Christian? With truthful time, I pray thee, pursue sentence. So Shylock says that shows how Christian husbands regard their wives. After hearing Graciano and Bassanio's speech, Shylock says that this is the nature of Christian husbands who regard their wives in this way. He also says that he has a daughter. He wishes that she had married some descendant of the murderer Barabbas rather than a Christian. How much Shylock hates Christian. This proves through this speech of him. He says that his daughter should marry a murderer like Barabbas rather than a Christian. Now, he appeals to the court that to pursue the sentence, he requests the court, the lawyer, not to waste time. Now, Portia, hearing Shylock's appeal, tells that a pound of that same merchant's flesh is thine, the court awards it, and the law doth give it. She speaks in favor of Shylock. Portia, the disguised lawyer, who presents here in the court as Balthazar, the disguised lawyer, speaks in favor of Shylock, says that Shylock has a legal right to a pound of flesh of Antonio, and the court awards it to him, and the law justifies the award. After hearing this from Portia, Shylock becomes very much happy. He says, most rightful judge, he considers the lawyer as rightful. My dear students, I have already mentioned, wherever the lawyer speaks in favor of Shylock, Shylock considers the lawyer either rightful or excellent or genial, etc. Portia, and you must cut this place from off his breast. The law allows it and the court awards it. Portia also says, Shylock, to cut the flesh from Antonio's breast. The law allows this and the court justifies this award. Shylock hears this, and his happiness knows no bound. He is so happy that his happiness cannot be controlled. Most learned judge, a sentence, come, prepare. He again refers the lawyer as most learned lawyer and asks Antonio to prepare himself for death. This proves that Shylock is really a stony adversary, as Duke referred him earlier. Really a stony adversary, a cruel heart, who has no feelings, no empathy, nothing else. So this is for today's class. In the next class, we will discuss whether Portia allows Shylock to cut 1 pound of flesh, or she saves Antonio from the clutches of Shylock. Thank you, students, for watching this video. Stay tuned for our next video. Thank you very much. Students, I have a special message on behalf of Southern School. I'd like to advise all my dear students to stay home, stay safe, don't ignore the lockdown, break the chain of coronavirus. God bless you. Thank you very much.